Pinball has plenty of failures. Games that ran out of money, licenses that fell apart, prototypes that never left the warehouse. This is not one of those stories. This is the story of a pinball company that promised to reinvent the industry, raised tens of millions of dollars, took advantage of hope, nostalgia, and trust, and ended with federal indictments. And to understand how this happened, you don't start with Deeproot. You start with the first ship that sank, Zidware. Before Deeproot, there was Zidware. Zidware was John Papaduke's first attempt to run a modern pinball company. And on paper, it was perfect. A legendary designer, no corporate interference, boutique manufacturing, dream themes collectors had begged for. Magic Girl, Zombie Adventureland, Alice in Wonderland. People didn't just place deposits, they paid thousands of dollars, sometimes in full, years in advance. And then, nothing. Years passed, updates slowed, timelines dissolved into excuses. There was no factory, no production line, no finished games. By 2015, Zidware had collapsed. No refunds, no accountability, no closure. And here's the part that matters. Zidware didn't just fail financially, it trained the hobby to accept unfinished promises. Zidware should have been the end, a line in the sand, but instead something worse happened. People kept believing. They told themselves the ideas were too good to abandon, the designer was too important to lose, and someone else could step in and fix the business side. That belief created a dangerous precedent. That vision deserved infinite second chances. So when a new company appeared with money, lawyers, facilities, confidence, it didn't look reckless. It looked like redemption. Around 2015, that company arrived. Deeproot Pinball. Backed by Texas businessman Robert J. Mueller, Deeproot promised to be everything Zidware wasn't. Professional, funded, structured. They talked about revolutionary cabinets, modular manufacturing, multiple games in parallel, no pre-orders until production. And then they did the one thing that guarantees attention. They brought John Papaduke back. To some, this was a gamble. To others, it felt like salvation, especially to Zidware customers still hoping their money hadn't vanished forever. Deeproot promised Retro Atomic Zombie Adventureland, Magic Girl 2.0. They said this time was different, and people wanted that to be true. They also didn't build quietly. They announced a revolution. Big buildings, big teams, big videos, big words. RAZA was positioned as the flagship. Classic Bally Williams DNA, humor, chaos, spectacle, a return to fun pinball. Prototypes appeared, whitewoods existed, cabinets were shown, but the closer you looked, the less complete everything felt. Games didn't ship, deadlines evaporated, designs never seemed final. The same phrase kept surfacing, not ready. And for anyone who remembered Zidware, that phrase sounded really familiar. By 2018, 2019, 2020, the questions were identical to the last disaster. Where is the money going? Why does everything feel perpetually unfinished? Why does the finish line keep moving? Zidware wasn't an accident, it was Act 1. Deeproot was Act 2. In August of 2021, the curtain ripped open. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission filed a civil complaint against Robert J. Mueller, alleging that the investment funds behind Deeproot were operating in a Ponzi-like manner. According to the SEC, more than $58 million was raised from investors, many of them retirees. Funds were commingled and over $30 million was funneled into Mueller-controlled businesses, including Deeproot Pinball. The SEC further alleged there was $820,000 paid to earlier investors using new investor money, $1.6 million taken as a salary, $1.5 million spent on personal expenses. Pinball was not the core business. Pinball was a cash-burning limb of a much larger financial operation. When regulators stepped in, everything stopped. Accounts froze, employees were locked out, projects died overnight. In 2024, Mueller was criminally indicted on multiple counts of wire fraud. This wasn't pinball drama anymore, this was federal court. And while John Papaduke was not charged and not named in the SEC complaint, once again, his unfinished designs were left behind in their wreckage. Zidware customers never got answers, Deeproot customers never got games, and the hobby took another deep scar. There is one final chapter. One of the games promised during Zidware and later Deeproot was Alice in Wonderland. It never shipped, not once, not anywhere. For years, it existed only as sketches, mock-ups, and hope. Then something rare happened. A different company, Dutch Pinball Exclusive, acquired assets tied to that original concept, and they finished it. Not as a rescue, not as a redemption, and not with the original designer in control, but as a new project built by different hands with real accountability. Alice in Wonderland now exists, and that proves the most important point of this entire story. The ideas were not the problem. The problem was everything wrapped around them. So what is the lost pin here? Is it RAZA? Food truck? Magic Girl 2.0? I don't think so. I think the lost pin is trust. Trust that vision replaces responsibility. Trust that passion excuses delay. Trust that this time will be different. In pinball, great ideas don't die. They just wait for people willing to finish them. Thanks for watching The Lost Pins.